Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Ah, the beauty of cutting ties. Today in the rLounge, OP is breaking free and stepping into the sunlight after years spent in her sister's shadow. Am I the a-hole for wanting to expose my sister to her husband after she confessed to my husband on her wedding day? Sorry for the confusing title. I don't know how to word it in any other way. I, 24 female, have been married to my husband, 27 male, for about 2 years. My sister, 26 female, and her husband, 26 male, are high school sweethearts. My husband, let's call him Bob, and I met at university. I was 20 and he was 23. He excelled in both academics, sports, and looks, and was well known around campus because of that, so obviously I had a crush on him. Jane also attended the same university. Because I was new, she included me into her big circle of friends and he was a part of that. I never made a move because I respected Jane and her friends. I didn't want to cause any trouble or make things awkward. She meant the world to me. Even though Bob and I became close friends, I grew to like him more. I also noticed that Jane rarely interacted with him, which was odd considering she was close to almost everyone in her circle, but I never said anything. I did end up telling her I liked him though. She told me to not get my hopes up because he wasn't interested in any relationships. I was crushed, but tried to see him as a friend. He ended up confessing to me on my 21st birthday, and we began dating, which obviously resulted in marriage, and here we are now. During the entire time we were dating, Jane started to distance herself from me. We did have a talk about it when Bob and I first started dating, and I told her I'd break up with him if she wasn't comfortable with it, considering he's her friend, but she rejected the idea. She hugged me and said she was happy for me, so I took her words for it. She still distanced herself, though. Her husband, boyfriend at the time, we'll call him Jim. He didn't attend university, but his dad has a small construction business that he works at. Jim's a good man. He did everything for Jane. But due to our culture, women can't leave the family house until marriage. So Jane and I still lived with our parents then. So when Jim had saved up enough money to buy a house, he proposed to Jane, and she said yes. Fast forward a year and Bob proposed. I said yes. Up until now, all Jane had done was distance herself from me. But when I sat my family down and told them the news, she cried. I thought she was crying for happiness until my mom told me I should have taken my sister's feelings into consideration before telling them. It was odd. It seemed like no one was happy. My mom took Jane to her room, but my dad stayed. He told me that Jane was having a hard time with Jim. I believed them. Since then, Jane distanced herself more from me. When I tried speaking to her, she'd reply curtly, and when I brought it up with my mom, she said that she's going through a hard time, so I shouldn't make it worse. So I left her alone. That was until Bob confessed that Jane had been texting him consistently for the past few weeks. He showed me the texts. She'd asked if she could call or meet him. She'd also attempted to text him late at night. The last one was when she sent him photos of her in revealing dresses and asked him to choose the prettiest. That's when he decided to tell me about it. Before anyone says anything, no, Bob didn't lead her on. His texts were dry and frankly, if I wasn't so upset with my sister, I'd say rude. He felt uncomfortable, but decided to put up with it because she was my sister. He also admitted that Jane had confessed to him years ago, but he had rejected her. It felt like everything was falling into place when he told me that. I was so hurt by her, I immediately confronted her when I got home. I thought she'd at least be ashamed, but she said that I stole him from her. What's worse is that my mom sided with her. I've always had a feeling she was my mom's favorite, but she was my favorite too. It made sense everyone loved Jane. I loved her too, but she betrayed me in the worst way possible. She even said she hated me and didn't want to see me again. No one sided with me, so I packed my things and left. My dad told me that I shouldn't leave because it's not appropriate for an unmarried girl to leave her parents' house. My mom even called me a whore for leaving to go to Bob's place. That hurt a lot. It took a long time for me to get over what they did. When I think about it, it still stings. Bob and I have lived together before marriage. I also cut contact with my family, and Bob and I got married without inviting anyone from my side, aside from a few close relatives. It was a lovely wedding, by the way. But a week ago, my cousin told me Jane had her wedding. I guess she went ahead with it. Today, though, Bob showed me a message he got on Instagram from her. He hadn't seen it because it was in the request section, but it dated back to a week ago. She confessed to him again and told him she'd make him happier than me if he gave her the chance to. I am upset. Really upset. He screenshotted it and blocked her and asked her if it was okay to send it to Jim, but I said no. I don't know why Jim deserves better, but I just don't want to deal with her anymore. I can't take it. I feel so guilty to keep this away from Jim. However, I don't want this to blow up in my face, especially when Bob and I have been living so peacefully now. Edit. Thank you for all the solid advice, both on this post and my other post. I think, deep down, I was still attached to the family who raised me, especially my sister. Your comments have given me a reality check. For those asking what I meant by this blowing up in my face, I know my sister. I'm afraid she'll come to my house with my mom and escalate things to the point a police is needed. But I also understand that she'll keep harassing my husband and ruining Jim's life further if we keep quiet. I took your advice and told Bob he could contact Jim if he wanted. He said he'll think about it, so I'm leaving it at that for now. Personally, knowing his personality, he probably already sent it to Jim even after I said no, but I'll wait to see what happens. Thanks again. If anything happens, I'll update. OP was voted not the a-hole. And now for some relevant comments. First one. Wow, she is desperate, and you can't steal him from her if he didn't want her. He had years before you to pursue something with her, but he never did. He really should set her straight and then block her. I have had many opportunities to pursue something with you before, your name, and I didn't because I wasn't interested then, and I certainly ain't interested now. You are embarrassing yourself, and I quite frankly feel sorry for you that you have lost your baby sister because you thought I was some prize to claim. I've tried to be nice about this, but now you are just being downright disrespectful to me and my wife, so I'll spell it out. I don't want you. Never have, never will. If you message me again, I will send everything to Jim. Then block. But I'd send everything to him anyway. Poor guy is a backup and he doesn't know it. Save him from wasting any more of his time. Someone else chimed in. You said it yourself, Jim deserves better. You already don't talk to your family. What blow up are you expecting if you tell Jim? She's going to hurt him in the long run. I'm sorry, OP. It's clear as day that your folks have a soft spot for Jane. You can practically see the golden halo hovering over her head while they tiptoe around her feelings like she's made of porcelain. And now, she's pulling some grade A manipulation, trying to guilt trip Bob into her love story. Sorry, Jane, this ain't no fairy tale, and Bob's not your Prince Charming. Maybe she saw Bob as the one that got away, the forbidden fruit she couldn't resist taking a bite out of. But hey, Jane, here's a newsflash. Bob's off the market, and you missed your chance. Try cozying up to your own man, Jane. And as for cutting ties with toxic family members, it's like pruning a garden. Sure, it might sting at first, but in the end, you're left with a healthier, happier environment to thrive in. Update. Hi, I just wanted to make a small update. As I'd thought, Bob sent the message to Jim even when I told him not to. He also screen recorded the message to prove that it came from her account, which I didn't know he did. At least one of us is smart. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but Jim didn't reply until last night. He called Bob and they had a long chat. Apparently when Jim confronted Jane, she tried to blame Bob for coming on to her. They had a fight, and she left to stay with our parents. I know a lot of you told me to send the screenshot to my parents. I did. I sent it to my dad, not my mom. I'm sorry, but I still can't find the strength to talk to her, and I don't think I ever will. My dad said he and Mom will deal with it, and not to tell anyone what Jane did. I feel worse now for even thinking he'd side with me. For anyone wondering whether Bob sent Jim the old messages from Jane from years ago, he didn't. He bought a new phone right after we cut contact, so he doesn't have them anymore. I don't know if Jim will divorce or annul Jane, but he told Bob not to contact him anymore. So I think we did our parts already. Thankfully, she hasn't come to my house, but I did take your advice about installing cameras. We'll be doing that next week. Thank you for all the help. You guys were right. Bob is my new family, so I'm not going to think about Jane or my parents anymore. We're having dinner at his parents' tonight, so I'm rushing writing this. Thank you again. I hope you all have a good day. Here's a couple more relevant comments. Thanks for the update, OP. I'm so incredibly sorry you've got such crap garbage family. But you do have a lovely, strong husband. I'm glad you've gone no contact with your family, and it's great you're putting up cameras. I hope you guys don't end up needing them, and your sister and or mom don't come over to your place because you know they'll blame you for everything, even though you've done absolutely nothing wrong. Golden Child sister will have mom on her side, of course. There's one thing in your first post that I caught while reading it again before your update. I might be a bit off here because I can't remember it exactly. When you told your family you and Bob were getting married and your sister freaked out, your mom said something about how you should have talked to your sister first. I'm assuming about getting married, but I'm super confused because in the beginning you did ask your sister about dating Bob, and she said it was fine. Obviously your mom had known about Jane liking Bob for quite some time, but if that's the case, what the F is wrong with your mom? How could she be okay with Jane marrying Jim if she knew all along she was in love with Bob? Your mom is quite the trash disaster, and she has the nerve to call you disgusting names? You are so much better off without your family. I put them in quotes because F them. They aren't your family anymore, and you've got Bob and he's your family now. Please don't you and Bob let your guard down with your sister and parents, and even Jim. I've got a feeling this isn't the end of the story, and it's best to stay vigilant just in case. Plus, you never know who they're going to send as flying monkeys. You and Bob stay safe. Keep your things safe, and if you need be, don't be afraid to press charges if any of them do anything to either of you. And the last bit of advice I have is to try not to give them any more space in your brain and thoughts than you have to. While counseling is not a cure-all or magically makes things better, it definitely can help you sort your feelings out about those, and it'll help that with couples therapy as well. All the best, OP. Take care of yourself. The OP replies, my mom said I should have taken my sister's feelings into consideration and not shown off about it when she was going through a hard time with Jim. They knew I talked to Jane when I started dating Bob because I told them when I confronted her about the messages. They said I should have known Jane was trying to do the big sister thing and put her feelings aside to see me happy. I'm not sure what she told them, but I can guess, especially since they kept saying bad things about Bob. I've blocked my dad again, so I won't be interacting with them at all and won't make another update. I think I just want to move on now. I've been going to therapy for about a year now, so I'm doing well. Thank you, though. Another commenter says, you deserve better. I'm glad to hear that you have Bob, though. He sounds like a great partner. Someone else chimes in, don't let them silence you and continue to enable their daughter. Make sure everyone knows exactly who and what these people are. You're paying it forward so no one else is victimized. Thanks for the update, OP. You made the tough call, packing your bags and walking away from the chaos, from the hurtful words and the tangled emotions. And in doing so, you chose yourself, your own well-being, over the suffocating grip of familial obligation. It's a bold move, leaving behind the comfort of familiarity for the uncertainty of the unknown. But sometimes the right path isn't the easiest one. And in your case, it's clear that leaving was the best decision you could have made. As for Jane, well, she'll have to find her own happily ever after that doesn't involve stealing the leading man from someone else's story. You and Bob are building a strong, supportive family of your own, and that's something to be proud of. It's unfortunate that your sister's actions have caused so much pain and turmoil, but you've handled the situation with grace and strength. What are your thoughts? And thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell before you leave. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's topic, so feel free to leave a comment. See you next time in the rLounge.